Are you both ready to get started?
Yes, just as here.
Yes, Justiciar.
Excellent. So, I will start by saying that the intent with this lecture is that rather than receiving our magical instruction from Eleanor as we previously did, we are now trying to establish an in house capability to develop training for our mages and to develop a magical understanding without requiring external assistance. So, this will be different than done, I imagine, by the college or the court mages in the sense that for us, I will be focusing on our heritage and our birthright for having magical aptitude and where that comes from and and going from there. So our lectures in general won't necessarily be helpful to the auxiliary, but if they do show up, I would not kick them out.
Understood.
Understood, just as here.
Now that being said, are either of you of a scholarly history?
I know bits and pieces, but I am not super in depth with it yet, my lord.
What,
Myself as well, just as.
Inquisitor? What's your understanding of how we came to be, the creation of Mundus?
I do understand that, like I stated, I'm not familiar with the whole story, but I know that he had to flee at some point, and there isn't a light that grants him his magical abilities, per se. But I still do need to do quite a bit more research in it, as I have not quite had the time to do so yet, just this year.
No, of course we are going to cover it in great detail. That to a level you may consider pedantic, but I like to talk. Now,
Of course, I can respect that, my lord.
and Soldier, what is your understanding of our creation?
I believe, of course, I'm not as well in tuned as the Inquisitor, but the Altmer preserved the light, and us Altmer inherited it. And then with Oriel and Trinimac being one of our greatest ancestors, and Magnus behind our magic, I believe.
Yes. Now, it is a very complicated story. Once I've laid it all out, though, it'll make sense, and it'll probably fill in some of the gaps of understanding why we search for such perfection and such purity in everything that we do. We once were among the Atata, which were essentially all of the beings that dwell in Aetherius. Now, the Aedra, our ancestors, were tricked by one of their own, Lorcan, into building this trap that we now live in, Mundus. Magnus was the architect of this trap, not realizing at the time what it was. He was part of the being tricked as well. And at a point in its creation, he did realize what the situation was, that this was a trap, and that the cost of creation of this existence was going to take the power out of those who were involved and use it as fuel to bind this existence together. So, as a result, he fled. I know the term flee is not a respectful term, but he understood with a quickness that he should not stay. And his exit from Mundus before its completion was done with such speed that it tore a hole between us, Mundus, and Aetherius that we now see as a light in the sky. The Magnagi, which were the followers of Magnus, followed suit, and they also fled the plane. And those are the lights that you see at night in the sky. Those holes left over that were, created by the tearing are where magic floods from Aetherius into Mundus. So they are actually remnants of our own divinity before we were trapped in this plane. And that's why our affinity for it is so much greater than anybody else's, because we are fewer steps removed from the Aedra themselves, as Ariel is our direct ancestor. Anyone that is further removed than us is further removed from their divinity and is further removed from their magical capability. Now, the opposite of this, the Nords do not see Lorcan as the great deceiver as we do. They see him as Shor in the Nordic pantheon. They see him as a warrior king who tricked us and fought against us to give them the divine right to magic. So what they previously did not have, they see as something that he fought to give them. And so they understand that they are not, from there, but through fighting that Shor did for them, they have received some capability. The opposite sides of this issue that we're on has created the rift that has always fueled all of our fighting. The fact that men and what was given to them by Shor was stolen from us and has trapped us on this plane and away from our right to continue in Aetherius. All the Aedra who were part of creating Mundus that did not find a way to separate themselves from it were all drained. Some of them became the Earthbones, such as the Bosmer would call her Y'ffre, creating, the laws of nature. Those who, were able to, make it back out, such as Ariel, he showed us a way to actually return to our birthright, and he was able to reascend, showing in plain view of everyone else the way to make it happen. As Altmer, it is our responsibility, our duty to stick to the purity that stays close to that path, more so than anybody else, returning us to what we were. And by attaining that perfection and that purity and remaining what we were before we were trapped, then the goal is to return. But with that, we have the more ability than anybody that is not as pure or stayed in our perfect line to wield magic and work with it. Now, from there, we've mentioned already that Lorcan is from, what we would call him the Great Deceiver, and that Shor was who they believe did this in the Nordic pantheon. So if we have Shor and we have Lorcan, what do you know about where the Imperial pantheon comes from? Now,
Give me just a moment, my lord. I was trying to take some notes on this as well.
Of course. It will be a lot of me talking. As I said, I like to talk. it is also a little bit of a crash course.
Oh, yes. Do continue, my lord. Thank you for giving me just a moment.
And, obviously, just to clarify, I know that I'm going into great detail, but the specifics on how we're going to handle magic are more relevant to the Inquisitor at this
Of
time.
course.
But the heritage and knowledge of our heritage and scholarly pursuits should be something that everybody strives for. So I respect that you're attending the lecture, even if you're not learning how to wield magic today. Now, Inquisitor, are you caught up on the notes? Is that what you said?
Yes, I am. I do believe that the Imperial Pantheon was created by, wasn't it Saint Alicia, if I'm pronouncing that right?
I would not call her saint, no. But you are correct with her name.
My apologies, my lord. But yes, I thought I did know that, but I was just going to clarify with you to see if I was correct.
Do you know why?
I believe it was to help prevent a religious civil war per se, but I am not 100% on that. I have heard that name mentioned before around the Imperial Pantheon.
You are very close to correct, I would say. Yes. Now, the Imperial situation at the time, when she got her start, she was a slave. She was the island maintains Nordic slaves and taught them their pantheon. So the Nords that were slaves of the islands knew of the Elven pantheon. When there was the slave uprising, because as we all know the story of the islands, them being very capricious, they could not get along. They were wantonly aggressive for no reason, just to satisfy themselves rather than to accomplish anything. And because of that, there were repercussions in that they could not maintain their slaves. So, as a slave in rebellion, she sought the assistance of Skyrim Nords and additionally other islands who could not, be unified with the rest of them. They fought back and were rebels. So now there are these three groups. There are the rebel islands. There are the Nordic slaves that were raised in Island Pantheon, and there are Nords from Skyrim that had their own pantheon involving shore and animal totems. They were faced with a situation where, because of the two different pantheons, there was aggression, there was fighting. They couldn't unify them to keep what was becoming the First Empire together. So instead, they made a political decision. And the political decision was to bastardize a pantheon that worked for everybody. Obviously, this isn't a pantheon that is like a true pantheon. This is a political document. So the Imperial 8 are just taken from what was already there and handpicked. The things that matched what they wanted them to be were taken from both. The things that did not match were discarded, depending on the need at the time in the political situation, and to legitimize the power and the authority that she had and keep everybody under one rule. So in that case, Ariel was instead made Akatosh, all of the primary elven attributes removed. Shore was removed. Lorcan was removed. we had individuals like Debella were brought in. Mara existed in all groups, obviously. So there was a mix and match where some things in the Imperials, are from the Elven side. Some of them are from the Nord side. But one thing that we all can agree on is it is not the actual pantheon. It is just a list of what was convenient at the time. And that is important for us in the sense that although we enforce the 8, we do not let people worship a 9th. The reality is that the 8th aren't our 8th in the first place. It's not that we're enforcing a specific 8. We're enforcing the removal of a specific 1. And I can get into the history on that specifically later if we would, have time and like on why that is such heresy. But the idea of trying to pretend that Tiber Septim is, was able to gain the mantle of one of the others is a fallacy. And that was a similar situation where someone needed to legitimize an empire at the time. The Septim line was in power and needed to be legitimized as the rightful ruler. So once again, just as the first empress did, another line took that pantheon and decided to make it work in the situation that would give them the power, legitimize their control. And as a heresy that we still fight to this day. The importance of this from our point of view is that while some may, there is still some divinity in some of the Aedra that are not part of our pantheon. They still were as part of Aetherius. Not the, I'm talking about Lorcan and Shore here. I'm talking about people or Aedra such as Debella, which is not one of ours. So even though they're it's essentially a bastardized, similar to a treaty or other political instrument, there is some workings that they use through their Aedra to have some authority. For us, we stick to the purity of ours. Now, there are a number of the pantheon that are related for magic. Obviously, Magnus. Instead of Magnus being something that's worshipped, in my opinion, it's more of a someone that's studied. It's, we're not trying to curry favor or anything like that. We do, though, respect him as an ancestor. There are a number of others. Specifically, we're going to be focusing on Ariel, although our magic does not come from Ariel as one who, essentially was our greatest ancestor and one who showed us what it looks like to reascend and the path to do so. Following in his light and in his footsteps is the right way and the way to align ourselves with perfection. And hopefully, if we do what we need to do right with perfection and purity, then to follow in his footsteps. Now, with that, there are individuals who are able to access magics or powers by not following in his footsteps. We already talked about the Nords having their pantheon, and everybody, under the Myr lineages have those that they venerate more than others. But Then there's also the problem individuals in the Dwemer. The Dwemer are a cautionary tale. Does anybody want to tell me what happened to the Dwemer? Well, what happened to the Dwemer was that their magic was not in line with Aldmer traditions at all. Their line deviated. They created something that is closer to some of the things that the Nords use, and the fact that theirs were tone based, and they essentially ended up causing their own extinction through overreach. Now, once we're in the shrine, we're going to go and talk to them a little bit, or talk about them a little bit more. But the important thing there is that there's a right path that leads to reascension, and that is our heritage by our proven correct by us staying more pure and more perfect and staying in line with receiving that heritage than any of the other Mer and their deviations from what's perfect and correct. They have less capability and less heritage than we do. And the second example of that is that deviation from that, such as the Dwemer, can lead to annihilation. The opposite of what we're trying to reach. Yes.
The Dwemers, didn't they do something with Lorcan's heart, if I remember, or something like that? Something to do with Lorcan, I believe.
They did, and we'll discuss that more once we get down into to Darkfall. But the importance here is, for this part, before we leave, is the understanding of where there's a right path and a wrong path. And adherence to the right path is what gets us our heritage, and on the path to reascension, following in Ariel's footsteps. Following the wrong path, or the advisors that don't follow the natural way, leads us down the Dwemer path, and possibly non-existence. There is more to that, but let's move to Darkfall to discuss that.
Oh, so just
Do you have any questions before we go? I know you were taking notes, Inquisitor.
No, I was quite caught up. I was just finishing up some final touches, but yes, I don't like the soldier here stated. I do remember it was something with the heart, I believe, during the Battle of Red Mountain, but as I stated, there is still lots for me to learn, which I will admit.
Yes. Well, we will discuss that more down in Darkfall, but you do have the right of it.
Of course. May I take a bite to eat real quick, Inquisitor?
Of course.
Justiciar, my apologies.
Thank you for correcting that. I will go out. I'm going to see if any other Mer are coming with us, and I will. Well, or you're already done.
Yes, I just took a quick soup. Seems the soldier needed him a snack as well.
Make sure you lock the building after us.
I do not have keys, Justiciar. Not yet.
Me neither, Justiciar.
Go ahead and go in.
You can attach it to me, and I'll. Oh, that works.
I believe that's the wrong way.
Yep, it is the wrong way. And then he just. It's okay. He will be back.
I couldn't see you, Justiciar. I just saw the mage light. That was it.
It is pretty dark.
Had to readjust my eyes.
It's a useless spell.
Oh no, I use it quite often. If I were to use the torches here, sometimes I'm afraid of headaches because I have had bad experiences. So, the
Yes,
Inquisitor is my
thank you.
torch. At least for a moment until I put it back. Have any of you been here previously?
I've been here once before on a patrol. I used to be a Markarth guard.
Oh.
It's just sort of the sort of place that I would look at inside the road and say, nice.
We're going left, so I'll clear these cobwebs.
I believe we all might have to, if I remember correctly.
We do not.
Oh,
Thank you, Justiciar.
thank you, Justiciar.
Yeah, if we don't clear it with fire, then everybody has to kind of fight their own way through. Oh,
I see.
hold one moment again. Yes. You're my torch again.
Of course, Justiciar.
One more is going to get us through to the end. One day that'll be Fireball instead, and you all be surprised.
It is not racist or bad. Change your grandma's not sure how she could repair that. Oh, that's
Yes, I tend to agree. Oh, that we have visitor. Greetings.
hello.
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 Hi, Stairs.
Did we interrupt your worship?
Oh no, you're okay. We were just discussing.
Yes,
history.
we were sort of speaking about, Anu and Padme, things of that nature. Grandmother was getting a bit curious about the elven religion, things of that nature.
Oh, that's very interesting. That is similar to the discussion that we intend to have. We had a initial discussion with the embassy, and then we're here to pay our respects and continue a discussion on the nature of magic, using it properly, where it comes from, and the heritage that we all have.
I see. Well, I know that grandmother might need to get back soon, but would you be open to me just sitting in, or is it private?
Are you a citizen of the Dominion?
I was formerly, yes. I'm not certain if my citizenship has been revoked or not.
Well, then I think that you can attend. You're both welcome
Very
to
well.
attend if you're citizens. The embassy may as well provide services to all the citizens of the Dominion.
Well, it would certainly be a conversation that would be of interest to me. What about you, grandmother?
I would love to listen in. I always enjoy learning new things.
We do have, an Argonian, so we will be, adjusting it a little bit.
Yes,
Now,
I understand.
for those that I brought, go. If you'd like to pay your respects before we begin the conversation. While they do that, my name is Justiciar Valiriel of House Corinthal.
Yes, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. My name is Andrewil. I am one of the captains of the guard over at Markarth.
Markarth, ooh, I heard that you have had some troubles recently. How's that gone?
It's not going too terribly bad. We do have a bit of a sordid history with the sordid Daedra cults and the like, but we're able to stamp them out easily enough. We did have quite a bit of support yesterday, and thank you for your help in defending the city, of course.
Of course, we've visited Markarth many times. When Grand Marshal Rain was still with us, I had attended him there often, and he was friends with the court, and so with that, if the Grand Marshal was friends with the court, then I am a friend of the court.
I see. Well, that's good to hear. And, well then.
Yes.
Saw that now.
Then we will begin.
I'm Grandma Brenda.
Oh, Grandma, what did you say your name was?
Grandma Brenda.
Grandma Grenda? It is good to meet you then as well. Now, the reason I've chosen to have the second part of our lecture here in the presence of Ariel's shrine we discussed previously while in the embassy that the follies of following the wrong path. And for those who were not part of it, as I would say 2/3 of the individuals now were not part of the original lecture, we did discuss the magical heritage of the Mer, and that the Altmer specifically are the closest to the original path, with direct ancestry back to Ariel. We discussed the creation of Mundus, the trickery of Lorcan, and once Magnus realized what was going on while the architect had progressed the plan, he fled back to Aetherius, creating the light that we see in the sky, and his followers, the Magnagi, created these smaller lights that we see at night. And these are where magic flows from Aetherius into Mundus. Additionally, with that, we spoke about the different pantheons, and the Imperial Pantheon specifically being a tool of politics that merged the Mer pantheons with the Nord pantheons in a marriage of convenience at the time, from a slave revolt that turned into an empire and had a number of individuals with it that had different beliefs. Through that, they created the Imperial Divines, the 8 that everybody knows, but obviously relevant to us, our ancestors are the Mer ancestors. Now, we started to discuss the importance of following the right path, following the perfection and purity that comes from the Altmer goals, following in the path of Ariel himself, in that he showed us the way that he ascended back to Aetherius. The proper path to do that is through the perfection, through the purity, through following in his footsteps, and doing as he did. By deviating from the path, then deviating from what he has shown us, then you're further from ascension, and you're further from perfection and purity. That closeness to the proper path, leading, being in our hands, giving us the stronger connection to magic and our magical heritage than others, gives us benefits that others don't, and sets us on a path that actually may lead us to following in his footsteps. The danger of not following in his footsteps is an example that was shown to us by the Dwemer. Now, our guests here from Markarth may be very familiar with the Dwemer. As I understand, there's a number of Dwemer ruins underneath Markarth, but the Dwemer, to catch those up who are not part of the embassy, are a Mer line that was attempting to meddle with things that were not in the traditional sense of Mer magic. They used tonal magic, and they even attempted to use the heart of the deceiver to accomplish their works. In the end, though, does anybody know what that got the Dwemer?
The complete and utter disappearance of their race, am I correct?
That is correct. Now, is it possible that they got what they were looking for? If the goal of the Mer is to ascend back to their original home with the Divines, is it possible that they actually achieved that and that we're just wrong?
I wouldn't assume so.
It's possible,
Seems
but
pretty stupid of them, frankly.
it's possible, but the evidence that we have, doesn't point us in that direction. We have nothing to prove that they made that, and we do have evidence to more point to that they no longer just exist in the fabric of reality anymore. The fact that conjuration magic can conjure pretty much everything except for the Dwemer, even things that don't live on this plane, is one clue that they are not there. They're no longer a part of it. But other than additional studies and additional research, I actually believe that maybe they partially met it, but I want to, caveat this with not having a body of research to provide you right now. I do want to just point out that this is a personal belief that I'm researching. I think that maybe they made it partially, but by going through the incorrect path, not staying true to the path that Ariel showed us was the correct way to regain your heritage, they either partially accomplished it and did not end up regaining their full heritage. They ended up something altogether or somewhere else altogether, or they did wink out of existence. Go ahead.
I am a bit unenlightened on the subject, but it is your belief that instead of merely disappearing from Mundus, they were unmade from the entirety of Orbis altogether?
Yes. There are cases, and this is partly what we would actually go into next. There are actually recorded instances of mages that have reached beyond their grasp to try for more power, exceeding their limits and exceeding the bounds of tradition, that have just ceased to exist. They took in too much power, and as a result, they no longer existed. And the common belief is that the Dwemer possibly did something similar. Possibly they tried to go too strong. Maybe they tried to, with enough power, to elevate themselves, and they disappeared from existence. Some people believe that maybe they accomplished what they were looking for partially, and maybe they did end up somewhere, or maybe they're in some kind of stasis. But the important thing is that if we were the important thing is that if we were to follow in non-traditional footsteps ourselves in the pursuit of magic, experimentation is one thing, trying to understand things in a scholarly way, growing what the traditional body exists says is the right way to do stuff can always be added to. So there is room for growth. You don't need to stagnate and not learn. Scholarly duties are our responsibility. So expanding that body of knowledge and growing our understanding is a requirement. But going into the profane or exceeding our capabilities have been the end of a number of mages that are not just the Dwemer, but human mages and other mages have all met the same fate of trying to reach for too much power, and as a result, their soul itself being unmade. So the Dwemer is
if I may, wasn't there one survivor of the Dwemer race, or am I mistaken on that?
If there was, I would be interested to know. My understanding is it was the entire race. I think what you're thinking is the Thalmor, the Snow Elves. They are the ones who tried to fight the Atmorans at Sarthal, and as a result of fighting the Atmorans at Sarthal and not finishing the job and removing all of the Atmorans, the Atmorans did come back and finish a war. So as a result, they ended up having to confide in the Dwemer, and because of that, they ended up blinded and trusting in someone who was following the profane. They fell, and that led to one snow elf, I believe, not being part of that and was still standing, but the rest of them fell as what we know the Thalmor. Yes, the guard in the back again. Go ahead.
Please forgive me for my interruptions. I'm just very curious as to your perspective on certain things.
Of course.
What is the fine line between the pursuit of Alaxon and the pursuit of forbidden knowledge? Where is that line drawn truly? Because I know that things such as conjuration may not be necessarily frowned upon, or other such things, but obviously, unsavory and unscrupulous things such as Daedra worship are generally frowned upon. I'm curious as to where you believe that would be.
I think the easy answer is just following in the footsteps of Ariel. Now, the answer of what are the footsteps of Ariel is obviously the challenge there. Now, here specifically with the Dwemer, it's really easy to point out because we do not use vocal magics. We do not use the tonal magics. There are reports of the Dwemer using the tonal magics in their different creations. There are reports of the Nords possibly using tonal magics or vocal magics instead of direct channeling. So while things such as necromancy is profane and conjuration is problematic, education, and those are forbidden topics of that, I would say you don't go towards. But are they going to cause you to wink out of existence? No, I don't believe that. But sticking to the proper cultural history, the believing in the proper path, sticking to the existing bar that we have from the Aldmer, and I think that's the important thing, is that sticking with and improving upon what the Sapiarchs teach us, instead of just completely veering off into something new and something foreign in the search for quick power, making shortcuts. along those lines. Shortcuts don't lead to perfection. You may get power, but you may not be able to control the power. And I think that's the important distinction for me, is following the proper path that the generations have followed before you, and expanding upon that incrementally, rather than just completely veering off in search of a shortcut. Short answers are never the right answers.
Yes, thank you. That was very insightful.
Now, whether I'm correct or not, I leave room for the other, research to define it a different way. We should always be in search of the right answer, and we should always look for our knowledge to be expanded. So there is room for what I'm saying to be corrected by scholars, your own research to provide more information. But if you deviate, completely, that's a problem.
I see.
Now that we've spoken about the needing to stick to the proper path and avoiding shortcuts in the wrong path, has anyone here formed an understanding of how they believe magic is manipulated? We've talked about where it comes from, but how is it stored? How is it manipulated? Now, go ahead.
Sorry, to me, I believe it is through our willpower, directed through our willpower, just this year.
I would agree with that. Each mirror has the capability of having a certain amount of power within them that we get from outside of us, and through will we have the ability to direct that into certain directions. The act many people call channeling, where we take the magic that's inside of us in our very soul, and we bring it out in order to create certain effects. Now, everybody has how they do this is a little bit different, and the previous students that I had, when asked about it, we talked about painting. Everybody has a little bit of a style of how they paint, how they get started in painting, as they get more confident in painting, how that changes how they accomplish painting, and if you're trying to paint something the same as somebody else, you're still going to have something slightly different, but you're going to have the general, as long as you follow the same steps, you're going to have the general look that the others have in their painting. And the more you accomplish it, the more it feels like muscle memory for a sword fighter, drawing for an artist that may focus on the technical details at the start, but then it becomes natural to them to just sketch out the environment around them. This is similar to channeling and how I picture it. From this light here, does anyone have thoughts on it? Yeah. For me, this specific working of it is I just channel an amount of magic, not tightly, not loosely. I just channel it, and in essence, place it, and it just glows in its magnificence. I think this specific spell is an easy place to start, just because it doesn't require too strong of manipulation, and due to being closely aligned with our heritage, I feel like it makes the most sense to start with. But for me, this is similar to just placing a scoop of something or along those lines. It's not too complicated, but the act of placing it is similar to breathing out. Is one way that's been described as breathing in or breathing out air to adjust what is in your lungs, or if you take your hand and put it in the water and move it to alter the currents slightly. It is a similar process, with everyone being unique in the way that they actually do it. Discovering how is comfortable for you to do it. It's going to take some personal exploration, but that is the best way for me to describe it. Is I just direct it into an area, and as the soldier pointed out, I just will it into existence. I still use my hands to point where it goes, and I still may have to concentrate on it, but that is the idea. There is research on whether the actual gestures that I make matter or not. Some of the thoughts on it are the gestures are more like the muscle memory of a painter or of a warrior, and that the movements help you focus your will and direct it. There's other research that says that without the gestures and without that focus, who knows where the magic will go. But with it being a personal journey, as you start to be able to develop it and be able to channel your will and your to direct the magic, you'll kind of have to find out for yourself what works for you. Go ahead again.
And once again, I am terribly sorry for all these interruptions. It's just a very interesting subject matter.
Of course.
It's a very insightful explanation that you gave. How would other magical focuses such as the stabs come into play? Because I know that it will typically allow people who are not well versed in magic to use them.
So that is an interesting topic. That's one that we would leave for more advanced study, but the general idea that I have on that is it extends from a couple lines. First off, the Psijic Order approached things in a fairly scientific sense. They mapped out channels in the body that actually, had different effects that they channeled through, and the Psijic Order ended up creating, what I consider not a good decision, but they created enchanting and alchemy, and they created the Mages Guild. And with this, they created essentially tools for people that were less magically inclined and had less magical heritage to make magic more approachable to them. So through the working of tools through enchanting that help you focus your magics and give you a little bit of direction. That's where I believe that stabs help you, both from the skill of the master that created the staff and the enchantments that they put on there that may assist you, as well as focusing your will through the tool itself.
So there's sort of a shortcut or a crutch.
Which brings us to shortcuts again. Yes. I don't think a staff or enchanting is going to cause you to wink out of existence, but just in general, the populous nature of bringing alchemy to the non-mer, bringing enchanting to other individuals in these tools, while I think that they do help mer as well, they brought it to those who were less apt to receive it. So I still think that a lot of this was a mistake, but it is out there and it is you know, although it is not the something that I wished would have happened, I think that not taking advantage of, you know, tools such as alchemy and enchanting as they become available would be a mistake on our part, as long as it does not go out of the bounds of tradition and, you know, existing scholarly study to, you know, work into the mechanisms of something like the Dwemer.
I see. Thank you.
I think the difference between the mechanisms of enchanting and the Dwemer are more of the magics that you know the Dwemer went into of tonal. You know, they're still, it's similar to enchanting, but with just a completely foreign magic. I think is more profane, essentially. So I think that's the best answer I have for you right there.
Yes, it was a very good answer. Thank you.
Well, thank you for asking it. I do want to point out that, especially for the those from the embassy, we are of course always, you know, focusing on our perfection, our demeanor, and our discipline. But I do welcome the questions here because this is a scholarly lecture, and scholarship is important to us. So if you need to speak up, do not be afraid to do so.
I did not wish to speak after.
Yes, Justiciar.
Yes, Justiciar.
Yes, Justiciar.
Now, so we've spoke on the light and what I, you know, how I picture the creation of the light. Now there are other magics there that, such as fire, where when I think of how I am channeling fire, I specifically think of instead of just placing the magic in an area, instead I am focusing it tightly, so tightly that it becomes hot and to the point that it combusts around it. Now, that of course is more short-lived because eventually the energy equalizes, the temperature, all of it radiates out, and the temperature, you know, starts to equalize. But in the process, it's very hot, and that's how I personally create fire. For creating ice, it's the exact opposite. For the creation of ice, instead, I think of channeling energy into an absence. So I put the energy into the absence of energy in the area is the best way that I describe it. And doing so, I end up with an area that needs to quickly make up for the lack of energy there. And how it does that is it pulls in the energy around it, quickly cooling the temperature of the area around it.
I see. This sounds to me like magic is a lot to do with imagination and being able to envision what you're trying to do first.
An understanding of energy as well.
Yes, it's about your will. Some research has literally called it will working, and that understanding, you know, through your will and through channeling and moving the magic in a way that works for you, willing these effects to happen through your own personal understanding of what that energy means to you. Yes, go ahead.
So would you say that achieving the desired magical effect would be a bit easier if you understand the natural mechanics of the effect that you're trying to create?
I would say that. Because understanding that the cold is more of an absence and the fire is more of an excess is important for recreating that. Now there are other magical abilities that I do not have myself, and greater magic abilities that I don't have myself. Personally, when I acquired my magical understanding was in this cave of understanding the fire at the braziers behind you, and understanding the light and meditating on the light of Ariel himself, and the nature of the illumination of cave onto the holy symbols. So understanding the nature of it is where I kind of came up to my epiphany of understanding, and then the research clicked, and I understand how to redirect it in a way that worked for me. Without the understanding and the meditation on the natural elements, I don't think I would have had that. For cold, I went to Sarthal with my guards, and I went down to as far as I could go. Sarthal, as we mentioned earlier, being the site where the snow elves attacked the Atmorans. Well, the Atmorans, the reason they were attacked is because they had an artifact there that the Atmorans had sealed away for thousands of years of great magical importance. And so being an area that is in such cold but is of such magical significance is where I did my meditation to understand the cold.
Thank you. That was a very insightful answer.
Of course. Now, as I said, not all of the, there are magical aspects out there that I don't have a capability to wield, or even that are of a greater capability than I have to wield. So your discoveries may be different as you do your own research of understanding how how to channel the power. But hopefully my descriptions have given you a place to start, a little bit of a head start. Unfortunately, you're still going to have to put in the work of understanding yourself. Just as a warrior with a blade, they may understand the metal. They do not necessarily know how to naturally move the metal around in a way that makes sense for defense, and until they've experienced it and practiced it. I can only give you the initial drills.
May I ask, you mentioned that your understanding of cold magic comes from a place of absence. Do you find that meditating in ruins in place of absence helps with this understanding?
Yes, for me that's what it was, because Sarthal is a ruin of the battle between the Snow Elves and the Atmorans. So the ruin there helped. The fact that it was in the cold helped, and the closeness of the college, and the fact that there was the Sarthal itself is just the site of magic, of great magic. Even though it may not be there anymore, it was something that for me helped focus it. So while this may be a good place to focus on the idea of the purity and the perfection, you may find other locations that are better for you to focus on the idea of cold, the idea of heat, and maybe even the idea of light.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Thank you. Justiciar.
I see. I could imagine the energy in that area is very strong, Justiciar, with such a historical events happening there.
Very much so. Grandma, go ahead.
Yes, I was just curious about how does healing work into all of this? Like you say that cold is the absence. I know you say you don't have, like, the heat and the cold are the only ones you know about, but do you know about others, like what they say when regards to healing magic and how that works, how they channel it? Does it come from, like, understanding the body or understanding of, like, how it's, like, knit things back together? I'm not a magic user, so I do not know.
So when it comes to restoration magic and healing, I can only tell you what is within the research. I myself do not have it. But what I have been focusing on in the idea of trying to heal is similar to the light, except with a focus on the energy going to where I need it to go, the body repairing itself, knitting back together, and as we would do from a wound over time, but in a more expeditious rate with the assistance of the energy. I have not yet accomplished it, but from my understanding of the research, a combination of just trying to understand the magic as well as trial and error along those lines would be a good place to start your research. Does that make sense?
Sorry, yes, it does. That's really interesting. Thank you so much, ma'am. That was a good explanation. I've always been curious about how it worked. I've been to Scholar School, so I'm interested in like the physical understanding of it, along as like the how magic interplays into speeding up the process.
As all magic involves a will to make it happen. That's where I would start. Is just trying to understand the moving of the energy and the willing it to happen, and the willing of the body repairing itself. Now, with that, I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to revere our ancestors and any additional meditation that you need to do before we move on. But if you have any questions before we do that, let me know now. I'll answer those, and if not, then we will be beginning our meditation. Okay. It sounds like there are no questions, so I will leave you to your personal meditation and research, and I will do mine as well. Yeah. I'm gonna go stand by the brazier of fire next to the entrance that we came through whenever you're ready and completed with your research. Find me there.
I would have never known that there was a shrine to Valiriel in a cave like this.
Yes. We only know as everything else because of those who came before us.
Yes, you're teaching her very much appreciated, Justiciar.
Yes, they are Justiciar.
I will stand to the side and let
Please,
you continue.
I was going to say, please let us know if we've overstayed our welcome. I'm just a bit interested in how the Thalmor do things and how they worship Valiriel and things of that nature.
No, of course. And we'll be leaving shortly as once everyone has had their time to do the research. But as citizens of the Dominion, we gladly, extend the teachings to you. We are glad that you're able to attend.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate
Thank
it.
Of course.
Well,
Walk in
I
Ariel's
believe that
light.
I should probably. Thank you. We should probably head back.
Yes, I do need to go hide in a corner though, Audra. I will be back in order.
All right.
Take care, Grandma. Take care, Underhill.
Farewell, my friends.
I think grandmother's going to probably follow you back. Head a bit.
Understood.
Oh, is this everybody? Are we ready to go?
I believe so.
Okay.
Ready when you are, Justiciar.
Back to being my torch you go.
Yes, Justiciar. It is a great honor to be your torch, if I do say so myself.
Justiciar, if I may ask, given the proper funding, in the future would there be a chance that we could restore this place?
Possibly. I think there's a bit of research to be done, and what is here. I think that's an endeavor that it would be worthy.
It's simply given the fact that so many palace shrines are allowed to stand, it makes me marvel at the fact that something as beautiful is allowed to rot. It's a shame.
Indeed.
It's a sign of how gullible people are. People are willing to take, what was essentially another political decision designed to give validation to the family that wanted to be the ruling family, and they're willing to turn that into something that they follow religiously, literally.
The more you read up on Tiber Septim as a man, the more repulsive it becomes to consider him a god.
Yes.
The entire situation with Baron Zaya makes me feel nauseous.
Inquisitor. Don't want to fall off of the ramp.
Oh yes, that would be quite a shame if any of them were to fall. I hope they have better balance than that. But yes, the dark does play quite a crucial role in causing you to lose your step.
Hopefully, Oriel's scales would protect us in that instant.
I
Well-
hope if I did fall, soldier, you would try to catch me.
I would die for you, Inquisitor, sir.
I do appreciate that. Have you ever seen any spiders in here, Justiciar, or the webs of old?
I believe that they're just old. Unfortunately, since we don't clear them out fully, they just come back. Maybe
I see.
smaller
Perhaps
spiders.
it's many small spiders, yes.
Oh yes.
Everyone be careful with your boots when you take them off after this.
Yes, perhaps we should all check each other for spiders upon our exit.
Spiders wouldn't dare.
I don't think so, but
I don't know if spiders recognize elven supremacy. I don't know if they recognize much at all.
I can imagine they have quite simple lives.
Then again, so do the ogres.
Yes, at times they do, at times they do.
form a single column.
Yes, Justiciar.
Okay. We're going to double time back to the embassy.